and greetings again and again. I am here to discuss to you the journey into light from Rizal's first journey to Europe up to his first homecoming, 1882 to 1887. Spain, 1882-1885. After finishing the first year of the medical course in the University of Santo Tomas, Rizal decided to complete his studies in Spain. Aside from completing his studies in Spain, Rizalian his secret mission was to observe keenly the life and the culture, languages and customs, industries, commerce and government and laws of the European nations in order to prepare himself in the mighty task of liberating his oppressed people from Spanish tyranny. This resilient secret mission was likewise disclosed by Paciano in his letter to his younger brother dated Manila, May 20, 1882. In other words, Rizal made the decision to finish his studies in Spain. Apart from finishing his studies, he also realized he was on a covert mission to become acquainted with and observe the life and culture of Europeans. To be precise, Rizal's departure for Spain was kept secret to avoid detection by the Spain authorities and the buyers. Jose Mercado, Rizal used his name, a cousin from Binian. May 3, 1882, Rizal departed on board the Spanish steamer Salvador bound for Singapore. He kept his trip to himself, not be discovered by the Spaniards or friars. Rizal used the passport of Jose Mercado, which was produced for him by his uncle Antonio Rivera, father of Leonor Rivera. He was accompanied of the quay where the Salvador was moored by his uncle Antonio, Vicente Jola, and Mateo Evangelista. On May 3, 1882, the ship was heading to Singapore. On May 4, 1882, Rizal got seasick on board the boat. Next, his trip to Singapore. Donato Lecha, the ship captain from Asturias, Spain, befriended Rizal. Rizal described him as an affable man, much more refined than his other countrymen and colleagues that I have met. Rizal played chess with his fellow passengers, who were much older than he. May 8, 1882, while the steamer was approaching Singapore, Rizal was a beautiful island. Fascinated by its scenic beauty, he remembered Talim Island with the Susong Dalaga. In summarization, the Nato Lecha is the ship captain, and as the ship traveled, Rizal played with his co-passengers who's older than him. As they approached on May 8, 1882 in Singapore, he remembered the island's scenic beauty as the island of Talim, along with the Susong Dalaga. He saw mountains and islands. Singapore to Colombo. On May 9, 1882, the Salvador docked at Singapore and at the Hotel de la Paz. Rizal decided to spend his 2 days here, which was a colony of England. In Singapore, Rizal transferred to another ship named Gemenab. It's a French steamer from Singapore to Europe. On May 9, 1882, Rizal arrived at Singapore, while on May 10, 1882, he went around the town of Singapore and made some observations. While on May 11, 1882, in Singapore at 2 p.m., Rizal boarded the boat Gemina to continue his trip to Spain. He found the boat clean and well kept. On May 12, 1882, he had a conversation with the passengers of the boat. On May 13, 1882, Rizal was seasick again. On his way to Marseilles, Rizal had a terrible dream. He dreamed he was troubled with Neneng, Saturnina, and their path was blocked by snakes. On May 15, 1882, Rizal had another disheartening dream. He dreamed he returned to Calamba, and after meeting his parents who did not talk to him because of not having consulted them about his first trip abroad, he returned traveling abroad with 100 pesos he again borrowed. He was so sad and broken-hearted. Soon he woke up and found himself inside his cabin. On May 17, 1882, Rizal arrived at Punta de Gales, Naples, and Marseilles. June 11, 1882, Rizal reached Naples. From Port Said, the ship proceeded on its way to Europe. On June 11, Rizal reached Naples. The city pleased Rizal because of its business activity, its lively people, and its scenic beauty. He was fascinated by the Mount Vesuvius, the castle of St. Telmo, and other historic sites of the city. The night of June 12, the steamer docked at the French harbor of Marseilles. Resolved bid farewell to his fellow passengers, he visited the famous Chateau. If where Dantes was imprisoned, he stayed 2.5 days in Marseilles. Afternoon of May 15, Rizal left Marseilles to proceed to Spain via train. He crossed by Piernes and stopped for a day at the frontier town of Port Bow. After the passport inspection of Port Bow, Rizal continued his trip by rail, finally reaching Barcelona on June 16, 1882. Life in Madrid. On November 3, 1882, Rizal enrolled in the Universidad Central de Madrid. He took up he took up two courses, medicine and philosophy and letters. Aside from the two major courses, he also studied painting and sculpture in the Academy of Fine Arts of San Fernando. He took lessons in French, German, and English under private instructors. First homecoming, 1887 and 1888. After he finished his novel La Limitang Here, Rizal planned to go back to his motherland. He wants to prove that despite of threats, there is no reason to be frightened about going home, as he believed that he did not do anything wrong, and he firmly believed that the Spanish regime will not punish the innocents. He planned to go back into the Philippines. And that's our end of discussion. Thank you for listening.